All right. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all having yourselves a fantastic start to the AM here. Happy Wednesday. Happy Fed decision day. Happy, hopefully everyone survived the West Coast tsunami day. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on here this morning. Uh, Pretty busy economic calendar, right? All things considered, that's kind of where we're at here today. And hopefully, right, we can put ourselves in a pretty good situation to basically keep compounding, right, on the really good work that we did there yesterday. So, really strong trading day there, right? We took two stabs at one move, got kind of faked out on that first attempt, right, which was about here. And then we played a really nice breakdown, right, down to about like this area or so. So no complaints, right? Good day. We're hopefully looking for more of the same. Um, but with FOMC on the docket here today, I would probably expect it to be a more casual or like calm trading day. Generally, you tend to not get a trend day, right, going into FOMC and the run up that we've seen, give or take for the last 8 or 9 of the last Fed decisions, is it's like a little bit of some volatility in the morning, some pretty crazy chop at 2, pretty crazy chop at 2:30, and then no real like consistency until the following day. So want to be a little bit patient here, especially in the run up, and yeah, not really force anything. If we are going to get a trade, maybe crude ends up being our easiest scenario here this morning, just because there's a little bit less headline risk, even though it does have inventories here this morning. So again, probably expecting it to be a little bit like yesterday, where yesterday we had to wait a really long time, right, for a trade to come together. Pretty much like the entirety of the session. And I would think that today, there's the potential for that, especially on CL. And then on the indexes, we kind of want to see action early. Like if we can't get the morning momentum to generate us that move, the closer and closer we get to FOMC, the I think stickier or slower or like like more stubborn probably is the right term that the price action is going to be. So I want to be really patient here this morning. I want to be really deliberate, and yeah, let's keep kind of compounding right on our good trading day there yesterday. Like I mentioned, right, it's a relatively busy economic calendar here today. Okay, pending home sales, honestly don't care. But crude oil inventories should be a big one. And then obviously the Fed decision is going to be a very interesting scenario. I think we're pretty much guaranteed, regardless of if the Fed cuts or not, that we're going to get some Truth Social posts here today. So again, right, there's an extra like spanner in the works here. And let's make sure that we're not getting overwhelmed by all the cooks in the kitchen. 12 different analogies here to say the same thing, but effectively expecting it to be a little bit slow and choppy. And I want to get a proven otherwise before I'm willing to be aggressive. I don't want to start today's session with the mindset of, okay, I'm going to be aggressive. This is going to be the day to press. I don't think that that's the reality. So I would like to be proven wrong in that context. And then we'll have a good plan, right, on effectively how to trade that. So, all right, let's start mapping things out here. Let's have ourselves a heck of a day. And let's go from there. So, ES, right? Red candle increasing. We'll call that outlier volume, right? And then a little bit of a gap up here this morning. Volume is not weak and pathetic this time, right? It's a little bit more enthusiastic. So, we will call that a 2 out of 3 here to the downside with volume. A little bit of a potential rejection, right, off of all-time highs. Confirmation, right, on that separation away from that area. So, this is definitely setting up, right, as a potential kind of bias here to the downside. Now, the element we'd probably like to see here, right, is for ES to crack under that 400 zone. If we can get a breakdown through that price, then we're going to start to put ourselves in a good situation to get a little bit of enthusiasm. If we're going to continue to consolidate off of that area, then using a psychological area as support going into FOMC is going to be like my red light, right? It's going to tell me that I need to probably slow down and that we're getting psychological consolidation prior to a big Fed announcement, which would mean that, probably at 2:30 or 3 o'clock or sorry, 2 o'clock, we're going to get that number to act as our support, right, for the algo launch pad. So we're going to be a little bit patient here, and yeah, go from there. To the upside, I don't think I can talk myself into a bullish scenario here this morning, right? It's too much volume relative to the last couple days, too strong. So I do basically just need to maintain a bearish bias only here on the index level, at least on ES. And ideally, right, we can get that resolved quickly. If we do have some flexibility, that's going to come on CL. So we are going to have opportunities to trade in both directions, but I'm just not convinced that things are going to sync up. So hopefully I'm proven wrong again. But base expectation, base mindset going in today is chop until proven otherwise, sticky until proven otherwise, not worth trading until proven otherwise. And so would rather, really today is about catching, if a move comes together, the middle of it, not trying to like top ticket or bottom ticket. I want to catch the easy price action, not just whatever makes me feel alive. All right, to the downside here, pre-market lows, 6,400. So we're going to start there. I mean, that should realistically be targeted by our ORB indicator, right? So that level should be taken care of. And then we're looking, I mean, we got it down towards 50. That would be a pretty big move. So let's see. Okay. NQ, a little bit of a similar narrative here, right? Arguably a probably stronger volume profile. And then just the thing to consider here is we've got more earnings, right, still on the docket. So Apple's going to be reporting here still this week. Microsoft's reporting here today after market close. So these are brave companies, right? Reporting earnings on FOMC day. I don't know what that means, but that wouldn't be my direction if I was running one of these companies. Certainly creates an extra element, right, of potential chaos here on NQ. We're going to have more layers of that positioning trade, right, or more exaggerated layers of that potential onion. So again, expecting it to be choppy, slow, consolidation, whatever you want to call it, until proven otherwise. The reality here, right, is that, I mean, I'll phrase it a little bit differently. When I was working institutionally on a day like an FOMC, right, we'd spend the 3 to 4, maybe week before positioning our portfolio based on what we thought was going to happen on FOMC day. So then when we came to the office, right, on Wednesday afternoon, because I was working in the UK, so, markets would open a little bit later, but we'd come to the office Wednesday afternoons, and from say market open at like 2:30 to when the rate decision was, it would be like little tweaks, right? Little minor changes. Okay, we want to change our net exposure in tech by 15 million or something like that, right? Like it would be small moves, and we wouldn't be looking to really take advantage of too much of the price action on the run up to it. Potentially, if we had a really big algo pop, there'd be some moves to happen at that point. But I would generally think that that's the general consensus here across the board. People have gotten their like positioning trade here out of the way early. And yeah, we'll see if that ends up being the case, right? So the aggressive fake out there yesterday maybe indicates that a little bit to me there. And hopefully, right, we can get ourselves some clean PA. Now to the downside, we're looking at a 23,400. That's going to be our starting point here. Again, probably should be covered by our opening range breakout indicator. And then from there, right, we're targeting about 100 points along the way. So no big deal. Doesn't need to change too much from that context. We're still in reasonable shape here. But yeah, hopefully we can put ourselves in a good situation and we'll get a clean textbook breakdown here at some point this AM. All right. CL continuing to give me that bullish bias here, right? 3 for 3 to the upside. We're looking for a breakout above this 70 handle. and not much needs to change. Again, we've got 1030 data here. So this might give us a little bit of a opportunity, right? Where if we don't get a trade in the early morning, we get that inventories data to drop at 1030, and then maybe we can get some smooth and clean PA post then. Generally not a huge fan of trading inventories in the run up. So like in that hour right between 9:30 and 10:30, that maybe is a little bit um, uh, challenging, and then we'll avoid it. So Chandler, no, I won't trade the FOMC announcement, even if we do get like big volatility. Generally, what it is you get one really big move in one direction, one really big move in the other. One that happens at 2 o'clock, and then one that happens kind of throughout the press conference. So historically, I don't really have too much of an edge trading FOMC. So I wouldn't expect myself to trade that then. And there's too many data restrictions with various companies and firms, so that even, if you could trade it, certain prop firms won't allow it. So having to like memorize that in my mind and all that kind of stuff, it's not worth it. So generally, I don't apply exceptions. I trade my morning edge, my morning rush, and pretty much ignore everything else. We'll use it as data points later, but in the short term, don't need to do too much with it. To the upside here on crude, we're looking at a 70 plus, right? So we're looking at a 70 breakout, and then 78's too far. We're not going to go up towards that handle, but I reckon I could maybe go like halfway. So we'll call it like 74 maybe as our target here. And again, I reckon that'd be pretty aggressive, but if we can get it, that'd be pretty nice. And yeah, would not complain about a move like that. Of all of the names here this morning, CL would be the one that I'd be most likely to be willing to trade prior to the data announcement, right? That's probably the easiest. And yeah, we could go from there. Appreciate that heads up, Mike. Yeah, and exactly what we're talking about, right? So yeah, it would be a pain in the ass to get a trade and realize, oh, actually, this is counter rules. And guys, like, don't worry too much about the news restrictions, right? At prop firms, that's a really common characteristic on a lot of trading desks. Like going into news, working institutionally, we weren't allowed to have open positions 5 minutes before, 5 minutes after. So not really something that is unique to like a my funded futures or things like that. All right, 2 out of 3 here to the downside with volume on Apple. Tesla inside breezy. Microsoft 2 out of 3 with volume going into earnings. Okay. Amazon 2 out of 3 with volume. Nvidia 2 out of 3 with volume. So I mean, very consistent stories at least. But we're opening up maybe a little bit higher than I would like. AMD 2 out of 3 with volume to the upside. We'll call it a week. Would not be surprising to start to see a little bit of a pullback here. Meta earnings today. Pretty big sell off there yesterday. 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume going into earnings. Bit of a mouthful. Netflix 2 out of 3 to the downside without volume, right? A little bit of a gap down. Looks like maybe enthusiasm is waning a little bit here. And then Google, technically a gap down. So we're going to go 2 out of 3 here to the upside with volume. And then VIX still 15.82. Yeah, Hunter, if you have that max number, just watch on YouTube. It'll give you the exact same stream. Recommendation here is use the Discord audio, use the YouTube stream, and that'll keep you as engaged. If for whatever reason the Discord is capped, yeah, the YouTube is your backup link there. Hopefully one of these days Discord ups the limit, but until then, well, that's the workaround. Yeah, so just keep an eye on this 1 min strategy, right? Again, just watching that and keeping an eye on those ideas. I'm still not interested in trading it. Still got a little bit of work to do back testing here, but yeah, worth keeping an eye on. Oh, Mike, you're gonna give them unrealistic expectations here. But yeah, give them 100 contracts and see what happens, right? It's a good entertainment. Okay, so second candle of the day doesn't. Oh, never mind. Might look like it is a breakout. Nope, not a breakout. Closed inside. Now we're back to looking a little bit longer time frames. But it's pretty small opening range here. 28 points. Not exactly enthusiastic. A little bit better on ES. A little bit of a better range on CL than we had yesterday. CL yesterday was like 10 cents. Yeah. Look at the volume compared to yesterday's open, right? Also quite a bit less significant. We do want to be a little bit patient. Now, yesterday's volume was pretty good. So it doesn't need to be perfect, but that is a pretty significant drop, right? That's maybe 20%, maybe 25% drop. So again, would rather be too patient here today than too aggressive. And yeah, if we do get that bull case, easier on CL than pretty much anywhere. One sec here, team. Okay, good decisions here across the board so far. Again, CL, not enough volume on that 3 minutes. We're gonna have to wait it out. But that's the ticker that's given me that potential bullish opportunity, right? Or at least the easiest trade here. Not expecting a tremendous amount of enthusiasm until I get that proven otherwise. And I want to be very deliberate, right, in waiting for that here today. Not going to pay to chase something, right? Or to, yeah, go for something that isn't there. We got to be super deliberate and very patient here this morning. One of those weeks where it's like the dog days of summer going into a pretty big news event. I think it's, yeah, it's demanding patience. That's the nice way of describing it. Yeah, like I mean, I would need to see like a more enthusiastic reaction here so far in general. Right? I wouldn't necessarily need to clear above that like 76 target. I'm not sure if that necessarily would be the hurdle. But if I'm looking at this price action and I'm watching it right now, and I'm saying that this is a breakout, like this isn't exactly an enthusiastic breakout here yet, right? So um maybe part of that, right, is like you're saying, Aj, where it's like, okay, it's coming up to resistance. Maybe it's wanting to fight through that. I think effectively we're going to kill two birds with one stone there if we get the like a smoother looking reaction, right? If we actually get price action that behaves like a breakout, probably the most likely thing is that it does so on a breakout above yesterday's previous close or previous high. Like if I'm looking at this, like this has been a pathetic and kind of slow move. Not what I would really associate with strong price action on a breakout above 65. And Q kind of pseudo rejecting. Not good enough volume there. But like, yeah, the fact that it's stuck at that 70 and it's been stuck there for like 2 minutes. I don't know about you, but that's less appealing to me. Like if I'm closing my eyes and picturing a strong trade, it getting stuck at 69.70, maybe not something I want to get super involved with. Now, if you get stuck at 69.69, okay, now we're talking. But that extra cent, it's probably a little bit too much. Again, let's see. Just increasing volume, just getting stuck at that target, still a slow, unenthusiastic move. I think I would rather pass on that burden of confirmation still. Like for lack of a better term, and I mean this in the most positive way possible, but I want to effectively, like if I can talk myself out of a trade here today, I want to. Like I don't want to be talking myself into positions and like telling myself that the market is smoother and easier than it actually is, right? On the index level, we're not really seeing a level of enthusiasm on crude. Again, maybe there's something there, but it's not perfect yet. So if there's a compromise here, like I don't want anything to do with it. That for me would be a borderline disaster. And I think we did a really good job of that there yesterday. So I don't want to give away that progress, right? I think that was a really good focus. So why not do more of the same effectively, right? I know it sucks, but not every trading day is a day to place a trade. Sometimes market's not giving you conditions that are going to give you an edge or where you're expected to be profitable. And the important thing to do in those scenarios is to not press, right? It's to basically make sure that you're compounding a 0 instead of compounding a negative 1,000. And if we can survive here today, we're going to be in really good shape. And even if we don't place another trade here this week after yesterday, we don't need to place another position, right? We don't need to make another trade. So being deliberate here today is going to be our cheat code. It's going to be our superpower. And we really have to embrace that as our strength. And again, I think we've done a good job there, Ajay. So appreciate the little heads up on that level. I think you were pretty spot on, mate. Yeah, and yesterday, like the trade came together kind of right at the end of the kill zone, which is fine. That's totally reasonable. But if I have to sit and watch for just to like force a trade, that's probably not worth it either, right? So like just one of those days, right? FOMC once a month, you kind of get a I won't say near guaranteed no trade day, but you get a near guaranteed chop day. And then, going into the futures roll, you get 2 or 3 days that are pretty challenging. So probably every quarter, you're losing out on maybe 4 or 5 trading days. All things considered, just operationally, just the way the market goes. So that's kind of the cost of admission to a certain extent. I definitely have done it in the past, Jared, for sure. But generally they're much quicker moves, and uh, I think just objectively, or maybe not objectively, let's say based on my trading data and kind of like my recollection of it, which is probably a little bit flawed, right? So just the caveat there, but my memory of FOMC days is a little bit kind of like those low volatility, low volume Friday summer trading days where sometimes it just ends up being like chop in no particular direction. And then you'll take a trade, you'll get stopped out. You'll think you'll have a trade in the other direction. You'll take it, you'll get stopped out. And you just end up losing money off of the same price point for like the entire session. And it kind of puts you on tilt. So I'd like to avoid that basically as much as possible. Excuse me. Yeah, great decision there on CL. Again, you kind of stack up clues, right? If you're looking at a breakout and you're still waiting for that volume confirmation, but it's like not enthusiastic. Warning sign, right? Red flag. We kind of want our trades. I don't know if you guys watched How I Met Your Mother, but we want them to all be on like the extreme version of the crazy hot scale, right? Where the hotter the move is, or like the bigger the move, generally the crazier the reaction is in the run up towards it. So when we're thinking that we're getting kind of like a hot breakout, we got to make sure that the price action running into it is really standing out. Yeah, exactly, Jason. Yeah. We want it to be so obvious that we have to take it. And I would say that CL trade was a hot setup, but it wasn't crazy enough price action. So for now, still lots of reasons to be patient here. Oh, it's only 6:47, but it feels like the market's been open for longer. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if that's super positive. Okay, so again, still just kind of hanging around that 500. Some decent volume on this 5, decent volume on this 3. That's not bad rejection. Yeah, and we got a lot of tech reporting earnings here after close too, right? So it's Microsoft today here, which is the second largest company in the Nasdaq, and then Apple, which is the largest company, is reporting tomorrow. So there's a lot of reasons to wait effectively for them. Just lots of headlines. Everything's all kind of coming up at once, which is honestly annoying. But I mean, NQ would be the most likely here for now. You gotta be a little bit careful here. Yeah, I would want to wait, I reckon, for the 5-min time frame just a little bit, because when I first saw this, it was on the 5 and it was like kind of doji-ish. So like my first impression of this move was like a little bit of indecision. And then the 3-min gave you a little bit more of a cleaner look. But if it's going to be strong, it's going to give me a similar close here on the 5. And I may as well be interested in that instead of on the 3. It gives me a little bit more time to like rationalize my thought process. That's fine. I wouldn't have any complaints about that. Target here would be this 2R level, 360, or call it 370. And let's see how this thing finds support or where it does. Our reference price would be 84 for now. Stop loss would be 94. Okay. So risking approximately 10 points, and just be patient here, right? Be patient. 494. So base expectation here, right, before this move is ready, is it's going to give us a little fake out here above that stop loss price, which is happening, give or take now. right? And then we might be able to get a breakdown here and then push. The reason I said the fake out was going to happen, that's basically just what we've seen here for the last 2 or 3 weeks, right? We've seen price action, give us the aggressive entry, pull back, give us a little fake out, and then potentially break down. It just changes my stop loss price to 95. Not really a big difference. Well, looks optimistic. Okay, now we're looking for a gentle pullback here above that blue line. And all I'm trying to do here is get as much of a discount as I can relative to that price. I seemingly want to pull back just enough. Let's keep seeing. Didn't get a fill at that price. It's fine. It pulled back for half a second. I don't think I really realistically had a good chance there. It's only 10 points away, so no, not bad. Oh, great entry. Oh, just one I was trying to get. Okay, maybe I have a chance here. Hey guys, I am in 485.25. 485.25. 2 contracts, stop loss at 495. 485.25 short. I'll be honest, not a great reaction here. Let's see if they can break down. Be honest, I'm not super thrilled by this post entry reaction. I think it's kind of shitty. There's no enthusiasm, right? That's the concern. So it's got to crack here, got to crack. Yeah, bad candle, bad volume. I think I have to get out here, guys. I really do. All right. I've closed this trade 82.25, all out at 82.25. I hated that close. It was too weak, not telling me the reaction I want. My gut was telling me that at this 77, 78, that it wasn't going to give me more follow through. So I am out. I have closed this trade. I'm not willing to hold on to this for longer. I'm not going to go down with the ship. and it didn't break through that 480 with any enthusiasm. So I reckon this will stop me out if I didn't close it there. But I don't think that was a good reaction post entry. And yeah, I'm not going to go down with the ship. Fuck that. I'll take a couple bucks. But yeah, not the right reaction. I'm not hoping I get lucky. This is the lowest volume of the day post entry. Like, that doesn't tell me that bears are strong. So now I'm going to wait for that data to show up here at 10 a.m. That might give me a little bit of an opportunity, right, to be able to get a bit of a smoother move. But no, that trade didn't feel like it was the correct reaction post entry. I don't care, right, that it's now at 76 or 75, right? I honestly don't care if it goes down to 48. Makes no difference to me. Something about that trade told me I was wrong. I need to get out once I see that, and then I can reset and get impartial. Like, if you guys, I know it's easy to have like goldfish brain a little bit sometimes when we're traders, but if I think back to last week, which is a big ask, yeah, if it's strong, it'll give us another entry, 100% geeky. But if you know, like last week, the thing that drove me probably the most insane, oh, just saying something, but was being in trades that behaved just like that. We're up a couple $100 and then they reverse and stop you out. I think there's like no worse feeling as a trader. And I think that it kind of like frustrates you. So I'd rather, yeah, get out, be impartial, try again. And I think there's no worse feeling. So why would I not want to protect myself from that? Save myself some money, save myself some mental capital. And again, I still think that it's still going to shake me out, I think, or would have shaken me out. Or yeah, like I reckon there's still a 495 high coming here before it breaks. Well, and it's not even that I'm trying to go like I'm trying to protect profits here, James. Like, that's not really what my objective is. My objective with that close is to protect mental capital and make sure that my next decision that I'm going to be making when I take a trade is one that's coming from a logical and rational place, not one that's coming from I need to make back my P&L, or I need to chase this, or I need to do X, or I need to do Y, or I need to do Z. So I would much rather always protect myself from myself than try to maximize my profits. Because if I'm not doing any of the dumb shit that costs me money, I actually make a lot more than I would on any individual trade. So the way that I look at it, right, is I am not destroying my ability to compound in the future, and I'm not cheating myself of my future gains. Nice work, Don. Hey, $440 just to scalp away for a little bit. No complaints. Not exactly a monster day here by any means. $140 here so far. Well, we have missed out on nothing. Again, I'm still confident this 95 is coming. I can't shake that. Yeah, that was that first little reaction. Let's see if we get that pop here now. Again, we would need a new setup trigger here, because I would say that this as my confirmation, like not really the move I would want for a bearish breakdown. So I would need another setup plus confirmation here. So far though, like what a freaking pathetic range on NQ, 30 minutes in. Talk about unenthusiastic price action. Yeah, so I would recommend going through the videos in the Start Here channel on how to set up your trading view, specifically video number 4, right? That'll show you how to set up TradingView. I use TradingView as an online application. If you want to use it on your phone, then for sure you got to download it. But I would watch that video. It'll walk you through how to set up your account and yeah, help you really prepare for tomorrow's trading day. Yeah, well, I mean, it'll depend on what the conditions are, James. So on ES, for example, right, I have a 2 out of 3 to the downside with volume, which for me indicates that I've got trending price action here lower. So I'm looking for a continuation there of that trend, or I'm looking for a continuation of basically this fake out breakdown type scenario. So today I've got no reason to look for the up case because it appears, at least in the short term, that bears are in control. So I have a bias in that direction. If market conditions were a little bit different, or we had 1 for 3 conditions or 2 out of 3 without volume, then I could realistically look for trades in either direction. But today, based on what the pre-market prep is telling me, I'm not able to have a bullish bias, or shouldn't be looking to trade the bullish trend, as that doesn't appear to be the path of least resistance. Yeah, exactly. What I'm looking to do is find the long-term trend and then look for the first short-term signal based on my strategy that tells me the same story as the long-term trend. So from like a philosophical perspective, that's effectively how my pre-market prep and my post-open analysis is trying to work together. Yeah, not enough volume there for us to call that a independent confirmation. So maybe that 95 shakeout isn't coming, but again, still not enough volume to be like super enthusiastic here. Maybe slightly longer time frame could be back in play. See, all kind of just fucking around. Honestly, we've not really missed out on anything here yet. I got no complaints. We've done a good job protecting our mental capital. I mean, this trade, even just thinking about it here, this would have been a stressful one so far. Would have been 3 retests of the entry price, right? There was a couple post entry. This one here would have been stressful at 91, and then this retest at 86. I don't think that would have felt good. And then big breakdown, dramatic pullback, like just so many opportunities to panic close. Again, I don't think I did anything stupid. Maybe I could have gotten a little bit more out of it, but I'm not going to hold that against myself. It was a good decision to not go down with the ship and to like attach all that mental capital. I don't think that's a decision I would have made last week, right? Which I think is awesome. So in this circumstance, right, like when I'm going to be filling in, I'm not going to be worrying about the take profit timing. For me, that's not the element of this trade that I want to be analyzing, right? So the reason I got out of this trade was for a technical reason. So I got out, right, because the post entry candle was just super pathetic and super weak. It didn't match the characteristics that I was looking for, right, in a trade. So it was that I got out because of a technical reason, not necessarily a panic close. So like I would say, yeah, the thing for me to track in this trade wouldn't really be my take profit timing. It would be the emotional reaction I had to that low vol breakdown, and how I didn't allow that emotional reaction to basically create a FOMO based decision, or a greed based decision, or just emotionally charged decision. So for me, that's the thing I want to be focusing on, right? I had the feeling that this trade wasn't going to behave the way that I wanted, and I executed off of that feeling. And all things considered, like, it was correct. So that's the thing to judge, right? Is I'm judging, was my intuition or my gut or whatever you want to call it correct on that trade. Now, I'm not saying, okay, that 82 was the perfect close or like the absolute best one. So that's not what I'm judging on. It's, I'm trying to train my gut here, right? Okay, I got to read that the market isn't giving me the move that I want. Was that read justified or not? Okay, I would say now extremely justified, right? That trade would have now stopped me out. And had I gone down with the ship, okay, maybe I could have squeaked out to like a 67, but that would have been like, have to be a perfect close. And for me to expect myself to have gotten that close, also probably a little bit unrealistic, right? So for me, I'll answer that question in a second, Don. So for me, it was, okay, my gut feeling here was telling me that my thesis was no longer correct. My post-entry candle was what gave me the confidence that the move was no longer strong. Was that analysis correct or not? I would say that it was now, because it would have stopped me out had I continued to hold on to this trade. Had it continued and broken down all the way towards our profit target, or like 400 or even like 450 or something like that, where it gives you that 2, 3, 4, 5 hour move, then okay, I could say, you know what, my gut feeling wasn't justified here today. There was no reason to have gotten out of this trade. And then I could look for a reason to basically say, okay, next time I could look at this differently and do that differently. So in this circumstance, it's not one where I'm looking at tracking my profit timing. It's more, was the reason that I thought to get out of the trade vindicated or correct? And I would say that today, here it was. So I would look for a second setup, but it would have to be a new one here, Don, right? So because I've effectively seen a lack of enthusiasm on that confirmation, I would need to get a high vol breakdown here effectively now under that 450 area for me to be interested in any story there. By the looks of it, we're kind of stuck in a mode of consolidation here in the short term, kind of what we expected maybe going into FOMC. So like, my bias is probably to continue to slow down, because nothing I've seen here so far this morning is indicating that I need to be speeding up, or like I need to be, or like the market is moving at such a pace that like if I'm not quick and sharp, that it's going to make me money. So yeah, I think all things considered, I would now need to see a new independent setup trigger, separate away from that zone of consolidation, and really turn this into a green to red reversal. If I were to put odds on it, I would say that there's probably like 20, say between 20 and 25% chance I get another setup here today. Yeah, like that would be my base expectation. Maybe a little bit less even. Again, not to say that it can't, and I would say that calculation is more specific there for the indexes. On crude oil, with that data dropping in 20 minutes, maybe a little bit of a larger probability. But I would say that price action is not moving in any level of enthusiasm. It has indicated chop for us like we were afraid of. And then we're kind of running out of time for it to create that enthusiastic reaction. There's a lot of things working against price action right now. So we'd like to see basically all of those things basically flip in the opposite direction. This would be a great day to sell premium, but unfortunately can't do that with prop firms. Yeah, news was super lame this morning, James. But the big key here today is FOMC, right? And that happens at 2. So generally the run up to FOMC is a little bit of a dud, kind of like we talked about in our pre-market prep. I don't really see anything different than that yet. So it's just time to be patient. Tell you what though, team, and maybe a little bit of confirmation bias here, but we're doing a little bit better with that first trade of the day here, right? Like that's kind of stabilized a little bit, which has been pretty nice. So just, always like trying to, we want to remind ourselves constantly over our improvement, right? I think it's really easy for us to get like tunnel vision on what we're doing or like where we're at in our trading, that we forget to realize like how far we've actually come or how much we've actually improved. And that's hard to sometimes see in the moment. So on these like slow days and on these days where it kind of feels like you're not making any progress, like today's one of those days, like not putting a dent in the P&L. Like maybe I can go buy a coffee in cash here today, knowing the prices in Canada. But like it's just a reminder, right? Okay, I'm improving, I'm getting better. My P&L catches up to me. I don't catch up to my P&L. And just really focusing and emphasizing those to yourselves, right? Is how you can stay present and in the moment on these kind of slow days. Yeah, I know it's pathetic, AJ. You forgot though, it went 470, 490, 470, 496 shakeout, and then back down. So we at least saved money. And it's not even that I called it. It's that once I get a shitty reaction post entry, like it's kind of egotistical for me to think that that doesn't matter anymore, right? Like I always talk about, maybe not always, but I do talk a lot about I do talk a lot about it's 20, Patrick, it's 20. I mean, John, that blue line is my entry. When I journal my trades, you see my entries, call out my entry. I'm not quite sure what other element of visibility you would like. You already get all of it. What was I saying? But like once you get that post entry, right? That weak reaction post entry, it's hard to like think that my story is actually strong, right? My job basically is to like close my eyes and see what the trade looks like before I take it. So if I'm looking at a trade and my post entry candle is like choppy, bouncy, slow, it seems like it's slugging around specific levels, um then like probably not a trade I want to be in, right? Because it's not giving me. I got in at 82 or out at 82. You can see inside the setup alerts channel, Patrick. That's where I have it posted. So in at 485.25, out at 82.25. So about $60 a contract. So you can always find that info in the setup alerts channel. So if you miss it or you want to catch up, it's always there. Oh, it's all good. It's all good. I don't know. I don't know if I've. I don't know what story comes to mind. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know if I have anything top of mind here, Ache. Nothing's like triggered the member berries here yet. A little bit easier if you give me like you point me in a direction, if that makes sense. Yeah. Okay, there's a good question. So I come from a family of Polish immigrants. So my dad and his parents, they immigrated to Canada from my grandparents immigrated to Canada from the UK. So they went to the UK from Poland during World War II, and then my grandfather served in the like Polish resistance based out of England. And then once the war was over, they immigrated to Canada. So they were all Polish citizens. Then my mom, she bit of a crazy story. I won't go the long version, but she basically escaped Poland as a political refugee. So she got like refugee status here in Canada. This was before the Berlin Wall fell, so Poland was still under Soviet control. And yeah, so she escaped as a quote unquote political prisoner, whatever you want to call it, as. So I had yeah, Polish citizenship. So when I was graduating high school, I had a bunch of different options over what I was going to do for school. I had a couple lacrosse scholarship offers to the US and was really considering taking them. But the schools that were offering me were uh terrible academically, probably is like a really generous way of describing them. They weren't particularly impressive. So my parents were not particularly interested in sending me there. So I ended up looking to see if I could get any other university experiences that would not allow me to stay in Canada. So I ended up actually like through my soccer coach or football coach, ended up getting like a walk-on invitation to play for like a team in the UK. So joined them, got like a partial scholarship, things like that, and then paired that with my European citizenship. When I moved to London, my net university costs ended up being cheaper than what my cost would have been to go to like a UBC or a McGill or a local school in Canada. So I was able to convince my parents to do that. And then the other perk of that is that in the UK, you can go to what are like some postgraduate programs directly. So like you can go into med school direct there, you can go into law school direct, and that's ultimately the path I went. So I went into law school directly at 18 years old, and then kind of like panicked, uh, got really really bad feedback from like my peers in law school, like they all kind of sucked, and then yeah, kind of had like my midlife crisis at 18, 19, and kind of fell in love with trading. Like I stumbled upon a trading desk and then basically just like begged them to hire me. So that was pretty much the process. So that was why I went to the UK, because the school was cheaper for me as an European citizen, and it's also why I left the UK, because post Brexit, they kind of kicked me out of the country. So if it weren't for that, probably DTR wouldn't exist. Um, yeah, and I probably wouldn't be trading retail. I'd probably still be working at a fund. So kind of an interesting scenario. But yeah, that was effectively it. Yeah, the schooling system is a little bit more logical there, I think. But when you graduate, you get paid like $30,000 a year, 30,000 pounds a year. So it would be a disaster. Yeah. Yeah, I get to sleep in. Yeah, markets would open for me 2:30. It wouldn't be a bad life, but I'll be honest, I like the early wake ups. Like, I like waking up at 5:30, being done my trading day by, worst case scenario by 1 p.m. Like I love it. Most days I get my mornings to do calls with you guys or to do fun stuff for myself. Like it's awesome. It feels I'll give you guys a secret. It feels like a little bit of a cheat code. Like I'll wake up, I'll trade with you guys, I'll do some one-on-one calls, and I'll take a nap, go for a cup of coffee, and after that nap, you're like going out and enjoying your day when most people aren't even on their lunch break. And it kind of feels like you got 2 days each day, and I love that feeling. Yeah, again, I would need to see it break out above its high a day. So 526 would need to be the breakout here to the upside. Otherwise, that would have to be my target, right? Which 14 points away, not enough. ES, on the other hand, maybe a little bit better, right? That's broken out from its consolidation areas. Again, kind of like a potential cup and handle type pattern. Here's your cup, here's your handle, here's your breakout. So potentially this could be in play. And we're targeting our opening range breakout to our level here. And immediately we know that it's the aggressive entry technique because we made a higher high. We also have seen price action fake out here multiple times. So I'm going to let it see if it wants to fake out here under that 418.25. And then we'll look to settle in. Base expectation here still, right, is that this trade is going to fake me out. So I'm going to try to buy myself as much time as I possibly can to look at this. Do not need to be in a rush. Again, right? I think good analysis there. Just like forcing ourselves to buy time, saving ourselves a headache so far. Oh, okay, interesting. Did look like a little fake out higher, but appreciate that correction. That gives us potential for a pullback technique where I'd be looking for previous high of day to act as support. So 414.50. So that's a good spot, Ajay. Thank you. I appreciate that, Tony. Yeah, for me, I love that book. I feel like I owe a lot to Man Searched for Meaning. Like it for me, it was my my wake up call. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Honestly, Eric, like I think it's gonna be really hard for me to talk myself into placing a trade. Like truth be told, I'm not sure if I would change my max position sizing because I don't want to create like analysis paralysis. I'll try to trade the same thing each time. But like I think mentally, I don't know if I'll be able to get there on anything else here this morning. Because it just all kind of looks like shit, for lack of a better term. So like, okay, maybe NQ's giving me dog shit, ES is giving me pig shit, CL's giving me I don't know, whale shit. Like it's all bad. So like I don't know if I can talk myself into anything. Okay, so let's see if we get a reaction here to inventories data. Oh, it just means that there's less supply, right? So that there's less barrels than expected. So they've got less that have been produced and then that are like effectively in storage. So then they do a count, right, and see if it's as forecasted or not. If it's less than they expected, then that's bad. If it's they've got more in storage than they expected, right, it's also bad. So there's a lot of variables based on it. But in general, yeah, Jared, and there's the inventories data dropping. I think that's exactly it. I think I've mentioned this in the past about how there's kind of like a skewed risk reward ratio once you're already green on a trading day, right? Because trying to go, I'm just making up numbers here. I'm not up $500, but let's say trying to go from being up $500 to being up $1,000, like it feels good, right, to make $1,000, but it doesn't feel as bad as going from or doesn't feel as good as the bad feels of going from 500 to 0, right? Like the disproportionate emotional reaction you get to both of those outcomes is kind of skewed. And so, like on a day where you're probably not expecting a ton of enthusiasm, like we're kind of seeing here so far, it makes it really hard to want to, yeah, like put myself in that bad mental capital risk reward. Like here's the thing, right? I have nothing really to complain about this morning. A, I made money. B, I saw the market well. And C, like I've not been stressed out or pissed off or like annoyed or whatever by anything, right? So I've done a good job executing my thesis. I've done a good job here protecting my mental capital. And I've made it easy for me to be rational and to like continue to be logical. So if I do all three of those things every single day, I'm going to make a lot of money. If I do two out of those three things, I'm probably going to be like one step up, one step down, one step forward, one step backwards. If I do one out of those three things, I'm probably losing money pretty aggressively and into drawdown. So 3 for 3 on the day, I can't really complain. That's not necessarily going to have the biggest benefit for me here today, but like tomorrow's trading day, it's going to put me in a better situation. Friday's trading day, it's going to put me in a better situation. And that for me is more valuable than turning today's $120 or whatever it is into $500 or into $1,000 or into whatever. I would rather compound that instead of feel like I'm now owed $120. That's also a dumb mindset to have. I've talked about this a bunch in the past, but for me, trading is like one of my favorite sayings is I can lie to everyone. Like if I want to be a profitable trader, I can lie to everyone but myself, right? So I need to always be like really honest with myself and thinking about what second order consequences are of my decisions and being honest over how I actually would have behaved based on evidence, right? That for me is really, really important. And it's why I don't have like a FOMO over not closing that ES trade at 67 or something along those lines, right? Because once I make a decision based on greed, I'm not going to take the first profit target. I'm going to look for the big mega move. So I don't think that I realistically would have closed at that price. I probably would have held on, gotten tilted, and then stopped out at 495. So if I know that, based on uh, my historical patterns, that's probably how I would have behaved. The fact that I didn't do that, that I did the opposite of that here today, that I remained in control, I saw things well, and I saved myself money. That's something to take a lot of pride out of and to take a lot of, pride is the right term. I should be proud of myself for that because that's improvement, right? That's growth. That's getting better. And everything else, it's a distraction away from those variables. So for me, I've behaved how I said I was going to behave. I actually think I had a pretty good read on the market. And okay, maybe I didn't make life-changing money, but I built skills and worked on techniques that helped me get there faster. So that for me is much more important than any singular win on a day. I've never been one trade away from being rich. So I need to stop pretending that I am and stop acting as if I am. And the more that I'm optimizing for that long-term outcome, the faster I get there. So everyone has limitations. Everyone has like things that break them. The more that we can acknowledge them and learn on how to work with them in our trading, the better we go, right? But the more that I lie to myself and say, okay, like I wouldn't have done this or I wouldn't have done that, or I would have closed at the absolute peak, or I would have done this. That's all fugazi, right? Like it's all a lie you tell yourself to justify the FOMO or the greed or the anxiety that you felt or you're feeling. and that's not a reality. And the more and more I believe those thoughts, or I believe those intrusive thoughts is probably the right term, then the less money I actually make, because I'm not listening to the logical brain, I'm listening to the irrational. And the irrational is random. And once you're making random decisions in the market, you're not trading your system, you're gambling, you're throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks. You're hoping you get lucky, and you might make money for a little bit long time, like might make a little bit of money being lucky, but you're never going to keep it long term, and not worth it, right? So that for me is where that that perspective comes from, is I have wasted too much time and cost myself too much money being a self-sabotaging asshole, that I refuse to give that guy any any slack. Like I want to be my own harshest critic in those situations, and you guys have probably heard that self-talk in the past, but I don't want to give that guy any leeway to control the outcome of my trading. And yeah, spot on, Mike. There's no worse trade, or no worse, no worse trade, or no more dangerous trade than a trade where you broke your rules or ignored your psychology and you got lucky and made money. That's the most dangerous trade you can possibly have, because it tricks you into breaking your rules again the next time and the next time and the next time, and eventually that will cost you everything. It is a ruthless game for when you make mistakes. It's not quite giving me a reversal there. Maybe on the 10-minute could. Yeah, I need it just a little bit lower. It's a bit unlucky. Not yet. I mean, I'll still watch for a little bit to see if things want to set up. But I mean, I'm gonna struggle to trade to the upside here. My most likely setup that I'd be willing to trade would basically be a fake out above these highs with a high vol reversal. And it's kind of that time of day where looking at that type of price action is potentially appropriate. But the level of enthusiasm that we've seen here so far today is not necessarily indicative of me getting a ton of action, which again is kind of expected on FOMC day. Yeah, that's it. You maybe had an open order that you didn't know about. Yeah, like trades don't just randomly execute, right? They have to have some sort of instruction to do so. Ooh. Yeah, again, nothing's really moving here yet. Oh, it's boring. Maybe we can get this. Yeah, I mean, that would be the most likely thing here on this 15 min. But again, like I'm not seeing a huge amount of enthusiasm here yet, so I want to be patient. But no, reversal would be fine here. Reversal based on that data would be fine. Like I wouldn't have too much concerns there, but yeah, gotta be patient. So the possibility here, Speed Racer, right, is that you canceled one of your orders and you didn't cancel your stop order, and so then that converted into a limit order. But no, markets will not execute for you unless you have an order hanging or an open position. Brokers and things along those lines would go to prison, right? And they'd be fined as absolute all hell if they were just executing phantom orders. So it just doesn't happen. You something in the way that you managed your previous position or your entry or whatever it was is what yeah would have filled that order. So something in your operational procedure isn't working as you expect. And by the sounds of it, I'm guessing you had a stop order hanging that got filled, right? If you only cancel one part of the order, then the stop loss, right, becomes a buy to open or a sell to open, not a sell to close or a buy to close. Okay, not a good enough confirmation there on that 15. Yeah, it's a snooze fest. It's a snooze fest with no range, right? Like we're pretty baby range here. Most of the move has happened overnight. Like I'm not in a rush here to do anything. I don't think I'll place a trade. Talked about 25% chance, right? 45 minutes ago. We're less than that here now, I would say. There's no separation, right? So market's not changed in that time frame. Yeah, again, 2 min. I'm not going to be interested in that particularly. I would need a high volume breakout. Time of day is not super inductive. So simple, right? On the 1 min, it's just an opening range breakout variant. First candle should be clean or normal. Second candle should be a clean breakout. So if you get a clean breakout through, you tend to get a 65-point move pretty consistently. If the first like candle post opening range is a bit choppy, tends to not happen. So here's an example, right? Clean breakout, second candle, you eventually get that 65-point move. Again, same thing, clean breakout, second candle, eventually get that 65-point move. Maybe some similarities with it, but not quite the same thing. But definitely some similarities. Same thing, right? Just clean breakout on the second, pull back, breaks down. So it's just if you get a clean breakout here, what this is, Nautilus, is it's most similar to or like where I got it from, I would say, is from book by Leo Melamede, Man of the Futures, where he talks about basically how futures traders were trading the commodities on the CME kind of before it became really famous. And he was basically just saying they were establishing an opening range, and clean breakouts they were building, weak breakouts they were trimming. So how can I define clean breakouts? How can I find weak breakouts? For me, it's strong candle, right? Not strong candle. And that's kind of where that idea comes from. Here's the reality though, right? Like there's no new ideas in trading. Like I'm not coming up with anything unique. I'm sure whatever comes into my mind, it's all influenced by every discussion, every book I've read, every chart I've looked at. There's some little influence there, right? So kind of just take it for what it is. And yeah, I still got to back test it and formalize the rules and get all that kind of straight in my head. But like always, I'll make a video when if and when, if it becomes appropriate. Yeah, that's the idea, right? Like the only way you're going to get your position sizing here to be appropriate is on a retest of the opening range, because otherwise you're chasing moves that are going to be, 30 plus points, right? Stop losses, which is going to exceed your max position sizing. So you would need the pullback, right, to be able to justify an entry. Otherwise, risk reward wise and position sizing wise, it's not going to be in play. Yeah. Again, I got to back test and see what the implied win rate is, and then go from there. But yeah, to be determined. It was a pattern I noticed quite a bit last week as I was doing some reviews. So anytime you see something that catches your eye, it's worth exploring. Obviously, though, kind of one of those things where sometimes you find it and it's like once you start noticing it, then it stops happening. So funny how that works. I don't honestly, Tony, give a shit about pre-market price action. I just care if it's up or if it's down. Nice work, BMO man. So, like, I don't look at pre-market levels. I don't look at the pre-market volume. I don't care. For me, it's just a binary. Is the pre-market higher or is it lower? And then just add that to the count. All right. Any other questions here, team? I might take off a couple minutes early. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your day, Mike, too. just was about to give us a 500-point move. I know. All right. Any other questions here, team? I think it's time to take the money and run. 119.78 per account here today. Don't spend it all in one place. Nice little streak of going here again, though, right? Stacking them up. I mean, hey, if the number just starts with a positive behind it, Greg, I'm pretty stoked. I don't need any other validation. Where's July gone? This is sad. Sounds good, Anton, and enjoy. Well, and money doesn't like the way that works with trading is that your income is not consistent, right? Like if you need 10K a month and it has to be 10K on the dot every single month, like it's not going to happen, right? It's going to be okay, you'll make 10K one month, you'll lose 5K one month, you'll make 20K another month, and you'll average out to that number. So big wins, like they tend to come in bunches, and you tend to have like a little bit of a period where you can really take advantage of them. Then things slow down, and then you get another period like that. So it's just kind of how it goes. I mean, I can't really complain. Like even in the last, we'll say 6 days here or 5 days, like $3,100 per account. To do that in a week, well, I'm not really making that at most day jobs. Like it's still more than I would earn reasonably. But like, don't really care. It's pretty good. I don't. What I mean, I don't really care about my P&L on a short term. Like it doesn't really tell me much. I'm trying to judge it quarterly, monthly, yearly, and year to date, it's been awesome. I don't know. The less I think about my P&L, generally the better my trading goes. Oh, I can't type. What? Yeah, really happy with today's trading day here, team. Again, not like the P&L. Don't give a shit about that today. That's far from enthusiastic or far from tremendous. What I'm pretty happy about is just how I managed my trading, right? I had a good plan. I saw the market well. I didn't get emotionally attached to my thesis. I just executed my strategy with precision, I didn't get the hopium here today, right? Which I think is really, really positive. I love that. Um, and yeah, like I did a good job there cutting my trade before it became a loss. Yeah, maybe I didn't maximize my win here today, but I didn't do anything stupid. I didn't make any mistakes. I didn't get greedy. I didn't get stressed out. Like, yeah, I didn't get an extra gray hair here today, right? So from that perspective, I think that that's a win. It was a very good process-based day, in my opinion, and any day where I could walk away being happy with my process, and I didn't lose money, and I reinforced a skill, like that's a win. Like I don't care what you say. For me, that's a win. That's something that I should be very proud of. And truth be told, I am. So happy to be green. That's our 5th or 6th green day here in a row. Looks like our 6th green day in a row. So pretty good, right? Back to streaking here a little bit. And yeah, hopefully we can kind of get back to some nice momentum here once we're out of all this like bullshit news that we've had to deal with this week. And hopefully that gives us a little bit of clarity. So same deal like always, team, right? If you have any questions, hit me up outside of market hours. But besides that, we'll be back at it again here tomorrow for what should hopefully be another interesting trading day. And hopefully a lot of this muck is out of the way then. Please don't trade FOMC here today and do something stupid. Save your money, save your mental capital. Don't hope that you're going to get lucky. Be deliberate, be precise, and you're going to be a lot luckier than just kind of throwing your money at the wall and seeing what sticks. So please be careful out there here today, team. But otherwise, have yourselves a fantastic rest of the morning or afternoon. Catch up with a few of you here in our one-on-ones later today. And then, yeah, see you guys all tomorrow. So have yourselves a great day, team. And I'll talk to you then. Peace.